Well, hi, everybody. I'm Don Stewart, and welcome to another edition of Breaking News. Today is Friday, the second day of August, 2024. And here on Breaking News, every day we look at the top stories of the day that have something to do with what the Bible predicts our world will be like at the time of the end. And the time of the end, of course, is that second coming of Jesus Christ and the many events that the Bible predicts that will precede it. And each day we look at how the stage is being set, and we're totally amazed at how everything is fitting in. Well, today is no exception. In fact, today it's all the more amazing as we look at three stories as Israel, Iran, Hezbollah are all waiting to see what happens, who fires first, what goes where. But what we're going to see today is the result will be from whatever takes place, the stage being set for the future events that the Bible talks about, which are not happening right now. Let's explain what we're talking about. All right. First of all, there is a realistic concern that if Iran does attack, it will do with all its proxies. That's story number one. The Mideast expert says a ring of fire around Israel will make war inevitable. That's story number two. And number three is the big one. Iran knows that it will lose its proxies by the end of the war. This is the most important story of all because what it tells us is that with whatever happens here, whether it's a regional war, whether it's just Iran, whether it's just Hezbollah, Iran will lose its proxies. In other words, Iran will not be the powerhouse in the Middle East it wants to be. Why is that important? Because the Bible makes it very clear that Russia will be the powerhouse in the Middle East at the time of the end, and they have nothing to do with what's going on right now. Now, as we've said before in our book, 25 Signs We're Near the End, which is a free download on our website, Educating Our World, Appendix number 5 talks about what would happen if a regional war broke out. Would this be the Ezekiel 38-39 invasion that's long predicted? And the answer is absolutely not. And we can add another point to this. We'll give you 10 reasons why it can't be. But number 11 will be Iran is going to lose its proxies by the end of this skirmish, whatever happens. And that sets the stage for Russia coming in and filling the vacuum. Now, how long it takes, we don't know. Russia will eventually come in and take over. But right now, what we're going to see today is literally mind-boggling, and I hope I can get it across to you because it's as I was looking at the stories, particularly this third one, I thought, wow, you really can't make this stuff up. Okay, let's look at them. There's a realistic concern that if Iran does attack, it will do with all of its proxies. Mideast expert says the ring of fire around Israel makes war inevitable. Okay. But number three, Iran knows it will lose its proxies by the end of the war. And that's the key. All right, let's look at these stories. Headline number one, U.S. officials. Next Iranian attack could be larger than the previous one, and it very well could be. U.S. officials tell CNN that the U.S. is expecting that an Iranian attack in retaliation for the elimination of Haniyeh could be coordinated with Iranian proxies from multiple directions. That's one of the things we're considering right now. But there's a however here. U.S. officials told them on Thursday they're expecting this attack in retaliation for the elimination of Hamas's political bureau chief, Ismail Haniyeh. It may be similar to what happened with the barrage of ballistic missiles and drones launched against Israel on April 13th. The official said that this time the attack could be larger, more complicated than before, including the possibility of a coordinated attack with Iranian proxies from multiple directions. The report also said that the U.S. also estimates that this time there will be a greater concern that U.S. military bases in the area will be among the targets of the attack. CNN further reported that President Joe Biden is weighing more U.S. defenses in the Middle East as the U.S. prepares for the Iranian retaliation against Israel. According to several U.S. officials, the Pentagon has discussed with the U.S. Central Command what adjustments to make to U.S. force posture in the region, but no final decision has been made as of Thursday afternoon. The official said an Iranian response could occur in the coming days. The report also noted that a coalition of countries, including Jordan and other Arab states, came together in April to share intelligence and intercept the Iranian barrage, but officials say it's unclear if such a coalition could be stood up again so quickly, whether all of the countries are willing to participate once more. The New York Times reported on Wednesday that Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has ordered his country to launch a direct strike on Israel as retaliation for the elimination of Hamas. Now, the U.S. has moved some assets into the area, and they're ready to join the war. And this is one of the good things. We reported this a couple of times, and this is important to understand because Israel and the U.S. by themselves could take whatever Iran throws at them, even with Hezbollah, with the Houthis, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's going to be interesting to see as we look at this if these surrogates are really going to be willing to join this war that Iran thinks it must inevitably take because of what happened to Haniyeh. They are so embarrassed. They must do something. They must do something soon. But will their surrogates join them? And that's the big key. Now, headline number two is interesting because this speaks of what's going on in the northern part of Israel. Ring of fire around Israel Iran has made the war inevitable, a Middle East expert says. You need to bring back the residents of the North, and for that, you need to prepare mentally and operationally for a war. This is Professor Uzi Rabi. Uzi Rabi is the head of the Moshe Dayan Center for Middle Eastern and African Studies at Tel Aviv University. He spoke today, Friday, on the phone with Ron Kaufman and Ariel Eldad on 103 FM radio, addressing the assassinations of senior Hamas and Hezbollah officials and including Mohammed Deif, Ismail Haniyeh, and Fuad Shakur, because you got the hat trick there, because as we said yesterday, Deif's death from a few weeks ago has been confirmed. And so you have three huge targets, huge leaders from both Hamas and Hezbollah that have now been taken out. And here's what he says. I think these assassinations and the manner in which they were carried out certainly restore Israeli deterrence. That's the understatement. In the eyes of our neighbors, especially those on the axis of evil, Israel over the past 10 months has lost a significant part of its image and the qualities that have characterized it. What's done partially restores the image of Israel as a country with capability, intimate intelligence, and operational effectiveness. Well, I'll say so, because in the last 3 weeks, they've got rid of Deif, who they've been going after for decades. You got rid of Shakir, who is number two. They've also been going after for decades, number two with Hezbollah. And then, of course, you got Haniyeh, the political face of Hamas in the world, who, according to the stories that we're getting now, he was the one stopping the ceasefire, stopping, being a thorn in the side of Israel and not allowing some type of ceasefire hostage release to go forward. So you got him out of the way now, too. But again, you got the problem in the north. So here's what the author says of this article. To bring back the residents of the North, a war is needed. You need to bring back the residents of the North, and for that, you need to prepare mentally and operationally for war. This is Israel's urgent task. What Iran has managed to do over 40 years is to build a ring of fire here that makes war inevitable. The access should be regarded as functional. Other countries fear Iran, and Saudi Arabia, like us, and these countries are looking out for themselves. They see with dismay how the West, which is supposed to be their protector, is not. Again, they think that where the threat is of this kind, the United States will stand firm. And this is correct. At this particular juncture, the U.S. will stand firm now with Joe Biden. Thankfully, as weak as he is, as problematic as he is, he will stand firm and defend Israel at this particular time because we have our own bases there. We have our own interest in the Middle East. So in conclusion, the article says this is an existential threat and it needs to be addressed as one body. Hamas is already crippled in every way. This is how you defeat terrorist organization. Hezbollah is bigger and more robust. We found ourselves in this situation. This is the enemy we will face. If Athens was directed to be above Sparta, then Israel's destined to be that's what Israel's destined to be in the coming years. In other words, he compares that to the Spartan war in Athens with the Greeks so long ago. All right, so here we come to headline 3, and I hope we can make this clear. I'll do my best. Iran knows that it will lose proxies by the end of the war. If this is true, and it seems to be, then it is incredibly fulfilling what Scripture has to say about the time of the end. As we've been saying over and over for the last several years, it's not Iran that's going to be the nation that leads a coalition against Israel in the last days. It'll eventually be Russia. So Iran and its proxies look like they're going to fall apart no matter what happens now. This is what this article says. The elimination of Haniyeh now puts Iran on the same level as its proxies and dependents. Notice that. Now, when we read Ezekiel 38:39, remember, Iran is mentioned as one of the group of nations that follow Russia. They're not the leader at all. Iran, ancient Persia, they're there. We've also got Bet Togarmah and Gomer, which is modern day Turkey. So you've got Iran and Turkey, but not leading the charge as surrogates of Russia. So this is exactly what this article is saying. Israel will be freer now to confront Tehran's octopus and its other arms to establish a regional anti-Iranian coalition from a position of strength. In other words, Iran won't have the strength anymore to do what they want to do. And this is exactly what's going on. Since October 7th, Israel has been engaged in a war of necessity with the primary, albeit unspoken, goal of restoring deterrence. This deterrence has gradually weakened and utterly shattered by Hamas's surprise attack. The achievements of the prolonged fighting in Gaza, the ability to simultaneously address other fronts, and the effort to free the hostages despite the political pressures and complex economic and social challenges are central elements in building this deterrence. Added to this are the daring operations to rescue the hostages. Let's not forget that. The Israeli Air Force strike on El Hudaydah port, that's in Yemen, and the assassination of senior Hezbollah and Hamas figures in Beirut and Tehran. For the latter, of course, Israel has not claimed responsibility for Haniyeh's demise. Now, here's the point. These actions not only demonstrate the high intelligence and operational capabilities of their executors, but they also show a willingness to take risk within the lion's den at its peak alertness, despite the potential cost of success or failure. Moreover, they reflect the political leadership's confidence in the security agency's abilities, which also impacts Israel's standing in the eyes of the enemies. So think about this. In the last few weeks, there's been the attack on the port there, Hudaydah in Yemen, a long-range attack. The planes flew away 1,700 kilometers from Israel and back. You got Deef there in Gaza. They found out where he was. They wiped him out and searching for him for decades. You've got, of course, the Shakur, the second in Hezbollah command, was there in Lebanon, this one area which they knew Hezbollah was staging their terrorists there that had not been attacked by Israel. They attacked there at pinpoint strike, got rid of him. Then, of course, the amazing thing of all, on Tuesday, where Haniyeh was taken out, staying in, of all places, in Iran, taking him out in Iran because the Mossad had planted a bomb there some 2 months earlier, knowing this is where he stays. And as soon as they found out he was there, boom, they took him out. So again, Israel now is looking very, very good. It could go anywhere and do anything they want. And this is what these other countries realize. Iran's deep involvement and its encouragement of proxy organizations to wage its war increase the risks of direct confrontation, escalation into a regional war. It's very, very possible it's going to happen, like we've said. On the other hand, dealing with its proxies while leaving Iran itself out of the conflict circle is precisely the model Iran seeks to implement. In other words, Iran wants to have everybody else fight, not them. Such an approach would also influence its confidence in advancing its military nuclear capabilities. Israel's brinksmanship requires readiness for several scenarios. Again, we don't know if they will fight or not. Senior Iranian officials are discussing with representatives of Hezbollah, Iraqi Shiite militias, and the Houthis the possible responses to Israel. Each of them has unresolved issues with Israel, and a coordinated response is expected. It is uncertain whether this will be executed in one method or a phase. That's the big question. Is it going to happen all at once, or will it be a phased attack? For Iran, the elimination of Ismail Haniyeh is a severe blow to its national pride. If such a high-profile figure can be targeted on President's Day at the guest house of the Revolutionary Guards in Tehran, and when Iranian security forces are on their highest alert, then no one is safe within the country's borders. Moreover, the assassination comes less than a day after Fuad Shakur was killed in Beirut, and not long after the airstrike at the Hudaydah port and the assassination of Mohammed Deif in Gaza. In this respect, the elimination of Haniyeh places Iran on a par with its proxies or proteges. In other words, they're not any stronger. They don't look invulnerable. Additionally, from a broader regional perspective, Tehran increasingly understands that by the end of this war, Iran's octopus-like network will lose one of its arms, and that is Hamas in Gaza will not be able to meet the expectations placed on it by the regime in Tehran. Israel will be freer to deal with the octopus and its other arms and to establish a regional anti-Iranian coalition from a position of strength. Now, of course, the supreme leader has threatened that Israel be severely punished for the assassination of Haniyeh. According to a New York Times report, he instructed that the attack should directly target Israel. Given Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Hamas's strong desire for revenge against Israel, it is likely they will make an effort to encourage Iran to retaliate harshly. Even this means taking greater risk than they did in the past. In other words, Iran will have to throw everything at them this time. Against this backdrop, Nasrallah's statement yesterday, Thursday, that between us in the coming days and nights, the battlefield will be determined, can be interpreted as a desire to limit the response to a few days of fighting rather than a broad war. However, his remarks pertain solely to Hezbollah's role, and in any case, Nasrallah also understands that in war, dynamics are uncontrollable and unpredictable. The Israeli-American cooperation, which proved effective during the Iranian attack in April, will be beneficial now, and it certainly will. The clear statement by the U.S. Secretary of Defense on this matter is welcome. Thwarting the Iranian attack is an interest not only for the Israel, but also for the U.S. and other regional countries that fully understand Iran's intentions towards them as well. So, see what we have here? We've got the U.S. now on the side of Israel, as they should be, and thwarting this attack from Iran. Now, this is different than what we see Ezekiel 38:39. That's why it can't fit at all, because Israel is by itself at this time. No nation comes to its aid. The United States does not come to its aid, and they're there to come to its aid right now. So please don't let anybody tell you, well, this is the beginning of the Ezekiel 38:39 scenario. It's not. Again, Appendix 5 of our book, 25 Signs. We're near the end. Free download from our website, Educating Our World, makes it very clear that it cannot be what the Bible predicts right now, because this final last days invasion will be Russian-led, not Iranian-led, and Iran's, basically its surrogates are now falling apart, and Iran is looking very weak now because of what Israel has done just in the last few days. So you see, it's so amazing how all this is coming together. So it's going to set the stage for a vacuum that'll be there in the Middle East. And who's going to take over that vacuum of leadership? Ah, yes, it will be Russia, the country that has, their desires now in Ukraine, but they're also going to be in the Middle East at some time in the future, and only God knows when that will be, to invade Israel with its surrogates at that time. The Russian surrogates will include Iran and Turkey, who's been belligerent lately, as well as some other ones from other parts of the world. All right, you really can't make this stuff up. It is exciting, isn't it, to see it take place? So we'll see. Pray for Israel. We'll see what happens. Will it be Hezbollah by itself? Will it be Hezbollah and Iran? Will it be all the Iran and all of its surrogates? We really don't know. But we do know this: at the end of this, Iran will not have the strength, the leadership, or the power that it thought it had until just a few days ago, when you've got all these assassinations taking place. So isn't it amazing how all these things are falling into place to set the stage for what Scripture predicts? All right, we'll keep you posted on all this. I'm Don Stewart. Thanks for watching. Until next time, as always, may our Lord richly, richly bless you.